Welcome to Better System Trader, the podcast to help systematic traders of all levels improve their trading. We'll give you loads of expert tips and practical advice on system design and validation, money management, trading psychology, and many other topics. Whether you're just starting out or a savvy systematic trader, we're here to help you improve your trading and find more success. This is Better System Trader with your host, Andrew Swanscott.
Hi there, welcome to episode number 117, and in this week's Thursday Trading Thought, we're going to discuss how to make better trading decisions. A common misconception with systematic and algorithmic trading is that it removes the impacts of human psychology on trading. But that's really not the case. In fact, even when you've got trading platforms automatically executing trades for you, the mental aspects of trading can still impact us, whether it be through execution, model development, position sizing, or other areas. There are a number of avenues that traders can be impacted by human emotions and biases, sometimes without us even knowing. And these type of issues can have a real negative impact, not just on our trading results, but it can also take a personal toll on our health and well-being, relationships, and other areas of our lives. But by being able to identify these issues and putting plans in place to overcome them, we can make better trading decisions. So how do we do that? Well, in today's episode, we're going to hear from Laurent Bernut, who is going to explain a process that he uses, and will also share what he calls a Jedi mind trick, sounds pretty cool, right? To reset some of the mental states that traders can get themselves into. So let's jump over now and hear from Laurent. Okay, so I might just switch over to a trading psychology question to wrap it up today. So a question from Jim. Jim asks, the mind plays tricks on us, even with a successful system. So as a system trader, what methods do you use for the mental part of systematic trading?
One thing to understand about the mind is that Daniel Goleman, the writer, wrote Emotional Intelligence, wrote a fantastic book before this about self-deception. Self-deception is a built-in feature of human beings. It's like nose, eyes, long legs. Basically, the idea is that self-deception, we spend our days rationalizing our actions, and the funny part about this is that it's a mechanism that covers its own tracks, and it's a mechanism whereby intelligent people are more susceptible to it. So luckily, I'm immune to it, as you can tell, and but a lot of intelligent people actually are very good at rationalizing their decisions. So not only we are very bad at making the right decisions, we rationalize them all the time. This is why people say, oh yeah, I buy this thing and I sell when the investment thesis changes or when the story changes. Actually, you will rewrite the story all the time. Another thing about this is Al Hirschfeld in New York University, I think, he came out with this theory about future brain. Now that one is fantastic. This has a lot to do with trading edge, with stop losses, and this is, it's just really amazing. He basically put a bunch of volunteers through an fMRI, and he asked them to project themselves with future financial contribution, how much they should contribute, how they saw themselves, and so on and so forth. And then he asked a bunch of questions about like their loved ones and so on and so forth, and then he compared the two brain scans. What he came out to realize is that when people talk about the beloved ones, when they talk about their families, that's an affective part of the brain that is triggered. When they talk about their future self, when they talk about the financial decisions they're going to make in a few years, it invokes the frontal cortex, which is the thinking brain. It doesn't have any emotion attached to this. Meanwhile, it's the same self. Like I would see myself in 5 years and I would think about it. I would not be emotionally attached to it. So this basically brings a whole field of rationalization. This is why people, when they say, yeah, you know what? I want my six-pack abs in a few years. So then in 2 years, I'll have my six-pack abs. But meanwhile, today, this is why I can have a pizza, wash it with a beer, and smoke a cigarette. And I will be healthy. Trust me. So how does it work in the portfolio? A lot of guys say, yeah, sure, I'm going to clock my 20% annualized. Yeah, no worries, I'll do that. But meanwhile, I have a whole bunch of stuff that is festering in my portfolio. I don't need to worry about those today. Well, actually, if you don't worry about those today, those will have an implication tomorrow and so on and so forth. So the mind plays tricks on ourselves. So I would really, this is something I do, is switching from outcome to process. Example, I have signals, and every day I journal this on a Google Sheet. I have signals. I take this, and I have the number of signals. I write the number of signals, and I write the number of signals I execute. Whether it's stop loss, I have checklists. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, here's a very interesting thing I'd like to talk about: the Jedi mind trick. Something that will transform the fight or flight into flow state. Can I talk about it?
Yeah, sure. It sounds great.
So, rewind back to January 2015, January 1st, 2015, we fly with the family to Vietnam, and we're in a hotel, and another gentleman walks into the car. The guy is like dressed like he's going to the North Pole. And I look at him like, oh, so I suppose you're going to your native Stockholm. He looks at me like, I am from Bangalore. So and I said, yeah, the fair city of Shri Ravi Shankar, wonderful ashram, spent a week there. Then we started conversation, and I'm fascinated with checklists. Again, it deals with habits. So we talk about it, and I ask him, like, do you mind asking me why you're dressed like this in the middle of Vietnam, 30 degrees? Like, I'm going into flight sim. Then he tells me, like, he was ex-Indian military, now he flies commercial. I'm going into flight sim, and it's really cold. Okay. So I teach him this Jedi trick, and the next day, when Dalat, I receive a call from him. It's, hey, this is Sanjay. I'm like, oh, so you're calling from Stockholm? I am from Bangalore, I told you. And he goes on like, so he says, I wanted to thank you because yesterday I did the thing you recommended, and he clocked his second highest score over how many thousands of hours of flight sim. Like, wow, this thing really works. So here's the story. The problem is that when we under fear and when we're in the extreme stress, we have the fight or flight. So it's triggered from the amygdala and the anterior cingulate cortex as well. So there's a cocktail of norepinephrine, adrenaline, corticoid, very, very powerful, potent cocktail. And the way the fight or flight works in the brain is actually it freezes the frontal cortex. It freezes non-essential activities. So, for instance, it stops digestion, it stops thinking, it freezes non-essential activities, and it preps you for combat, sweaty palms, or for fight or flight. Now, you can't talk your way out of it because the thinking brain is de-engaged, deactivated. So, how it works is you need a physiological switch about it. You need to tell your brain that it's okay, that the danger that is perceived is not lethal, and you can overcome it. That's step one. Second thing is then you can engage into some action. So let's go through the exercise. The idea there is there's one function that is entirely volitional, and I thank Mark Ryan, who's an NLP, a master practitioner, for the technique. You need to breathe twice as long as you inhale. So exhale like you inhale like 1, 2, 3, and exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this naturally slows the heart rate. So if it slows the heart rate, it reduces the blood pressure, slows the heart rate. You do that for about a minute or two, and consciously, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. So it slows the heart rate. At which point, basically, it calms the brain, and then because you're in fight or flight still, and they're very powerful cocktails, you need to de-engage it. And the way to do it is to look up, and we're in tunnel vision, so you need to look 180 degrees. You need to have broadened your vision. Your vision will rise into 180 degrees instead of a narrow 30, 180. And you look up a little bit. You raise your chin, look up a little bit. You look at something in the distance. So what it tells the brain is there's no danger. It's okay. You calm your physiological response. Meanwhile, you still have those powerful chemicals in your body. So in your brain. So you still have the fight or flight chemistry in you. And the interesting part is that the flow, and this is a book, The Rise of Superman, from Stephen Kotler, the guy who did the Flow Genome Project, fantastic book. Actually, the chemicals of fight or flight and chemicals of flow are roughly similar. It's a question of concentration mostly. So then you can engage in the activities that you know. And this is where it makes sense to pull out checklists. And this is why my pilot friend, he basically engaged the checklist. He felt time distortion. He did it for 4 hours. And you're into flow. You do repetitive activities, stuff that you know, stuff that you're familiar with. Like, you're not going to write, if, for instance, you're a fundamental discretionary, you're not going to start doing like trading convexity and trading vega and theta, vega and gamma. But you can actually do stuff that you're familiar with. And this is where checklists are important. Why checklists are important? And they're vastly overseen in finance. Surgeons use checklists, firefighters use checklists, pilots use checklists, military use checklists. The idea there is that it frees up mental bandwidth. You execute them sequentially, small sequences. So it frees up some mental bandwidth. And this 1 or 2 or 3% bandwidth that enables you to think clearly or to execute clearly when everybody else is panicking. If you're the Iceman on a trading desk, when everyone else is panicking, this is where you make money. This is where you're better than everybody else. All it takes is 2, 3, 4% better than everybody else, and compounded over time, this is when you make better decisions.
All right, thanks, Laurent, for sharing that with us, especially that Jedi mind trick. I'm sure that's going to be helpful for people. So that just about wraps up for today, I think. Okay, well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Come on over to bettersystemtrader.com. That's where you'll find all the previous episodes, all the transcribes, all the show notes, and all the free weekly trading tips. bettersystemtrader.com.